Welcome everybody to another episode of Lockdown 23 in 1. That's right, today I got another lineup of breaking lockup and crime-related news coming your way. Some of these stories are absolutely unbelievable. Can't wait to hear what y'all have to say about them. Not to mention an update on a pastor that we've been following since 2022. He got smoked and I knew it was coming. So let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. If you're new to the channel and enjoy all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you see something that you enjoy, find funny or important, there's a clipping option on YouTube. You can clip it and then I'm going to compile them all together and make a video on it like I just did the other day. And not to mention on the next video that I do with all these clips put together, I'm going to put the name of the person that clipped it and links that goes with each clip in the order that you see them, so you can go straight to the full video and watch it. I know people were like, man, I wish I could see a little bit more of what that clip was about. And you'd be there for hours without a link trying to find it, you know? So just want to say that before we get into the prison news of the day. Now, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. The first story is coming from Georgia. A prison inmate kills a prison kitchen worker, then takes his own life. This morning, the articles have been updated, and everything that I assumed was absolutely right. The Georgia Department of Corrections is working to get answers after deadly double shooting took place at Smith State Prison early Sunday morning. Father's Day, I believe. And we've covered many stories coming from Smith State Prison, man. That place is pretty active, especially with the contraband. I mean, almost every Georgia prison is known for its contraband. These drones are getting out of control. We'll talk more about that in a second, but it says, according to the GDC, offender Hart shot and killed food service worker Arion Grace before turning the gun on himself. And when I say offender, I'm talking about inmate, all right? This inmate got a gun. And there's only two ways, if you were to ask me, that he got this weapon. One, drone. If I were to guess, for sure, that's how he got it. Two, a correctional officer or some other staff member, which I highly doubt. Just too many cameras and snitches within the facility. So the only way to really try to get away with it cleanly, with the least amount of getting caught, is by drone. And if it was done by drone, then it's going to be extremely hard to figure out who did it. Especially if the inmate that took his own life was the only one that knew. But the GDC said it recovered the gun that was used in the shooting. The Corrections Department is now working to learn what led up to the incident. Many specifically want to know how the gun got into the prison. And this is not the first time that guns have gotten into prison. I mean, I just toured, what was it, Brushy Mountain State Prison? I just did a tour in there, and on one of the cell blocks before you go in is a little, thing that you could read about some of the history on it, and they brought a gun in there, killed a couple people. So, not to mention, we seen a video a long time ago coming from Louisiana, I believe, of an inmate having a gun. But it says Brian Randolph with the Human and Civil Rights Coalition of Georgia says he actually contacted the GDC last year telling them he heard a gun was in the prison. So we were tipped off in May of last year of a possible weapon that had been dropped off via drone along with other contraband. Randolph said he texted GDC's general counseling telling her exactly what he had heard. We never heard anything else about it after that, he said. I bet they wish they took that into consideration a little bit more. Now, especially with that type of intel out, that they were warned that there might be a gun in the place, that's easily going to be a lawsuit window opener. Smith State Prison is no stranger to violence. Like I said, we have covered many stories coming from this place. Some advocates believe the violence inside Smith State Prison is caused in part by understaffing. Randolph believes that the latest incident will likely only make matters worse when it comes to hiring new employees. Nobody's gonna go in and work in these places, he said. And I agree. Look, I've been in places where these guys will start their training and they'll be gone in a couple days. The correctional officer turnaround rate in the prisons that I've seen was extremely high. As soon as they walked into the cell block and got disrespected by every gang member in there, talking about your granny, mama, and daddy, everyone that passed away already, you go home saying, I don't think that this is worth the money. Right? That's just how it goes for a lot of people trying to be a correctional officer. But this was the second staff death in Smith State Prison in less than a year. Back in October, inmate assaulted a corrections officer with a homemade weapon, killing him. We covered that story as well. And it also goes on to say in the article that there was possibly a relationship between the inmate and the worker. Maybe he got jealous. Stuff like that happens all the time. I've seen guys that were messing with COs, and then those COs be chatting it up with other inmates. Man, they get jealous right there. Approach the CO like it's his girlfriend in the cell block. I've witnessed this stuff, man, but at the same time, that girl's going from door to door giving hand jigs every night. Somehow he fell in love with the girl and gets jealous at the same time. He didn't take her life like this situation. I'm just saying, I've seen firsthand these type of emotions in prison. So if I were to guess, it's probably what happened. This girl started her job in January, right? So, I mean, that's only a few months for this inmate to have, worked his magic to possibly have a relationship with her and fall in love. I don't think that that's the case. I think possibly he knew her from the streets, fell in love with her out there, got her to get a job in there, shit hit the fan, and he took both their lives. If I were to guess, that's what I think happened. We'll find out soon enough when they give out more updates, but very sad situation, and as always, my condolences go out to both families. Next up, we're traveling down to New York to speak about a bishop that we've been following since 2022. It says a bishop in Brooklyn, New York, who authorities say stole from one of his parishioners, was sentenced to 9 years in prison Monday in a series of financial fraud crimes that netted him millions, federal prosecutors say. Bishop Lamar Miller Whitehead, 46, was convicted in March of wire fraud, attempted extortion, and making false statements to federal law enforcement agents. Miller Whitehead, a bishop at the Leaders of Tomorrow International Ministries Church, made headlines in July 2022 when armed assailants robbed him and his wife of $1 million worth of jewelry during a live-streamed church service. Williams said in a statement, "Today's sentence puts an end to Whitehead's various schemes and reflects the office's commitment to bring accountability to those who abuse their positions of trust." Miller Whitehead embraced his flashy lifestyle. He was known for driving around in a Rolls Royce, and records show that he lived in a $1.6 million home in Jersey. Miller Whitehead also persuaded one of his parishioners to invest about $90,000 from her retirement savings with him by promising he would help her buy a home. Man, she could have easily bought a home with that $90K, at least a down payment on one, right? She probably had no idea about anything, but definitely trusted her pastor to make sure everything would go right and she'd get her house, but that wasn't the case. He spent the money on luxury goods and personal expenses and did not pay her back when she asked for it. He also extorted a businessman out of $5,000, the prosecutor said, and tried to persuade the same man to lend him $500,000 and stakes in real estate transactions in return for favorable actions from the mayor of New York City. But Miller Whitehead could never deliver on his promises. He was scheming, plotting, planning on these individuals from the beginning. Next up, this one is absolutely unbelievable. We're traveling down to Minnesota. Jessica Besk of Fargo was stopped in Polk County, Minnesota on May 8th for speeding. Deputies allegedly smelled marijuana coming from her car and searched the vehicle. Besk wrote in court documents that she was found to be in possession of 3 pieces of drug paraphernalia that tested positive for meth. The deputies allegedly found a bong, a glass jar containing a crystal substance, and pipes. Besk wrote that under Minnesota law, drug paraphernalia is legal, but she was arrested and charged with first-degree possession, she wrote. Now this is the catch. It says last year, drug paraphernalia was decriminalized in Minnesota, even if it contains drug residue, right? So how did they get this possession? It says that the charges did not roll back an existing law that treats bong water as a controlled substance. And anyone convicted of a first-degree possession crime could be sentenced to up to 30 years in prison and a fine of no more than $1 million, or both. In the court documents, Besk wrote that the bong and other items found were paraphernalia. She also asked that her vehicle and cash that she won at the casino right before all this happened be returned to her because it's not subject for forfeiture. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, in some states, if you're committing a crime while driving your vehicle, they can take that money. So you might want to freshen up on your rules and regulations to the state that you're in. But it's crazy to think that these officers know the law, that they can't charge someone for paraphernalia, and they decide she had to have been giving them a hard time for them to decide, hey, we're going to hit her up with this bong water puddle. If I were to guess, based upon what I've seen from Minnesota so far, she's probably more than likely going to get smoked. Next up, just a quick little update on something that's going on in Honduras. It says the president of Honduras has announced the creation of a new 20,000 capacity mega prison, just like the one that they made in El Salvador. Look, I told y'all, man. I would not be surprised if every country that's got a little bit of scratch are going to be building these mega prisons. And if you think about it, it'd probably save a lot more money in the long run than having a bunch of tiny prisons all over the country. Make things much easier, if you're to ask me. I don't know, but it seems like this mega prison is becoming a trend, and now Honduras is about to have one as well. Now, next up, we're traveling to my home state of Virginia. And this actually took place a while ago, but he just recently got sentenced, and I don't think anybody's heard of what he's done. A federal inmate in southwestern Virginia will spend additional time in prison after a jury found him guilty of manslaughter last October for the death of his own cellmate. Back in 2018, Silva, 48, was serving a 47-year sentence in a U.S. penitentiary, Lee, when prison officials found his cellmate lying face down in a pool of blood with a handmade knife protruding from the base of his skull. Silva and the other inmate had been locked in the cell alone when the discovery was made. It was later discovered that the other inmate had been stabbed more than 150 times. And then what does he do on the last one? Shoves it in the base of his skull. Leaves him there face down for the COs to see it. Man, imagine them walking up to that cell and seeing something like that. They never forget it. It'd probably change their lives forever. Not to mention, they're going to look at inmates totally different. But believe it or not, he was only sentenced to an additional 15 years in prison. So maybe it was some kind of a self-defense situation because he got a manslaughter charge, not murder. But like I say all the time, it doesn't matter. Just like a basic fight in jail, both inmates go to the hole. Well, if you get into a fight and you end up killing the inmate, but he started it, he was the aggressor, it doesn't matter. You're going to go to court. You're still going to get time added to your sentence, even if it was 100% self-defense. They just can't prove it. Every inmate that goes through these situations says the same thing, man. The other dude was trying to do something to me. Unless they got foolproof video evidence or testimony from numerous witnesses saying that it was complete 100% self-defense, if he didn't do nothing, he was going to get killed, then yeah. But man, I can't even imagine going out like that, man. Sitting on that floor watching dude probably poke you up knowing it's your last few minutes. Crazy situation. My condolences go out to the family members involved with that as well. I don't care if he was an inmate or not. I'm sure he still had plenty of family that loved him. But that's a wrap for today's lockup and crime related news. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did and you're new, like I said in the beginning, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and stay tuned. I got a great reaction coming your way, and the green screen will be in full effect. It should be a very funny one. Also, like I said in the beginning, do not forget to clip your favorite moments of the episode that you might have watched. I will be compiling them together and making another video soon enough. But as always, until the next time, y'all be easy, be safe, and more importantly than anything, stay free.